So I'd like to welcome everybody to Tough Decisions, COVID-19, and Tough Decisions for Business Owners. This is a series that my colleagues and I decided to start to really help business owners, HR professionals, and managers really navigate this very, very difficult and constantly changing time. I have with me on Diane Matthew and Jenny Ho, who are my colleagues, and they are on the call. If at any time you want to think about questions, put it in the chat line, because at the end of the session, we will actually answer those questions that you have. So please make sure that you start formulating comments in the chat. Our intent, as I said, was to really help you. So the outline is we allot 30 minutes for this presentation, and 20 minutes is the presentation itself, and the last 10 minutes is for questions and answers. And I do make ourselves, our team, available for the next 15 minutes if people really have more questions and they have time and want to stay on. So I will start to share my screen with you now. And Jenny, you'll confirm that you do see my screen. So, oops. Can you see my screen, Jenny?
No, not yet.
No. Okay, I have to actually come back out and put a share on the screen. That should make a difference. You see it now?
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. So, just a little bit about myself. I am the founder and president of People Bright Consulting, and I created a concept called Connect with Rev Up, and I'll share some of that today. Not, but in other sessions, I often bring up what Connect with Rev Up is about. My husband and I started our own engineering company, and we grew it from 2 people to 125 people in 7 offices across Canada. We tried to make it a special place where people felt valued, that they were respected, and they really were growing professionally. Top 3 reasons people leave companies because of those things we turned around. So we were actually recognized as one of the top 10 best workplaces in Canada twice. And when I sold the business, I decided that I would take my expertise and start a company to help people really make strong business decisions with regards to people. My areas of expertise include healthcare, engineering, IT, and human resources. So I shared why we started this series of sessions, and we are doing it Mondays and Wednesdays, and we're offering it twice a week. So I wanted to briefly update you on the changes in legislation, and then I want to help you manage the effects of decisions made during the COVID-19. It's such an unprecedented time, and there's such a big impact on our whole well-being. The third thing I want to talk about is how to lead in this time of transformational change. This is the essence of today, is talking about what leadership is. You need to lead now, and it's about transformational change, but it's even more than that. It's how to lead in such unprecedented times. And then the last thing is how to take advantage using some tips and strategies. Will you survive or will you flourish? So a brief update on the relevant legislation. I would suggest that if you have questions, start putting them on the chat line and we can talk about these. One of the people that came on earlier said they've already started to apply for the $2,000 bi-weekly for themselves, which is under the SERB, I'll call it, and you have to apply based on your birth month. So if you haven't started that, do look up what your birth month is and go in. So if you're January, February, March, you get to apply on Monday, and if you're April, May, June, you get to apply on Tuesday, and so forth. The 6 things that I want to share, each one of these has a link, so I suggest you go in and do a deep dive. But if you haven't already applied, if you're laid off, if you're doing sick benefits, you should be going in and applying. If, as a manager, you haven't done the ROE, you need to do that for your staff and they need to apply. But they do not need to wait for your ROE to apply. So you can certainly share that with them. I'm not going to go into a lot with EI because I think most of you have done that. One thing I would recommend is they do not want comments. What they said is comments will just bog them down in that they have to make phone calls. So if the person is taking EI benefits due to the sick benefit, just check that box. If they're due to the work shortage, just check that box, no comments. The next thing briefly to discuss is the CERB, what I'll call CERB. And that's where you can apply for yourselves for that $2,000 bi-weekly subsidy. So do go look that up because as a business owner, you're likely eligible for that. Do read the criteria, but that's one thing. The CEBA, the Canadian Emergency Business Account, is where you can apply for $40,000 loan. So it is through your banks. The banks are now set up, or at least some of them are, so you can make that phone call or you can do it online to get them to call you. Again, it is $40,000. I read somewhere it's a line of credit. I thought it was a bank loan. Whatever it is, it goes through interest-free up until 2022. And if you pay it off by that time, you are eligible for up to $10,000 bank loan. So this is really a good idea. It may help some of you to survive and to use that money to just keep going. So again, look up the details. The link is here. The 75% wage subsidy, we learned that in order to be applicable for the 75% wage subsidy, it is month by month. It is March 15th to April 15th, and what they do is look at your revenues month per year over year. So for March 15th to April 14th, they're looking at your March revenues and comparing it from 2019 to 2020. And you need to apply every month. So you need to do that for April, you need to do that for May. So each month you will be applying for it. So again, if you're eligible, great. If you're not eligible for the 75% wage subsidy, you could be eligible for the 10% wage subsidy. And that would actually come into your pocket by not submitting the the payroll tax by 10%. And your bookkeeper, if you have one, can do that for you. You can't do both. You have to decide what you need to do. The COVID-19 measures expected to last now until July, and that's the best case scenario. And I'm talking more and more to colleagues and clients who have closed their doors due to the restrictions now. Obviously, essential services has even been pared down more, so keep your eye on that. And then the last thing is that case fatalities are on the rise, and 15.9% for age groups 80 and over. This document came out on Friday. Personally, I found it really, really stressful to see and coping with those numbers. So I think we're in for a long ride. I read this article by the Change Leadership, Yvonne Akopovida, and she said the COVID-19 pandemic is fast changing the trajectory of business as usual, forcing us to rethink the way we work, learn, leverage technology, and reimagine social interaction. The impact is way beyond the stats we see shared. The ripple effect and the impact on our emotional, mental, social, physical, financial, and economic health is real. Think about it. Nowhere in the history of our lifetime, well, maybe some of you are younger than others, and some of you were in the war, but no period has there been such an event that is global, that has impacted on all of those areas that I shared earlier. The way we deal with things socially now, our finances are impacted, even our spiritual being. I was just talking to somebody and she said she had an epiphany. God spoke to her last night on what she needs to do. So her spiritualness is really connected there. Our physical well-being, our our sense of safety and security, our emotional and our mental. All of these are impacting on you. So if you're feeling really tired and sometimes feeling overwhelmed, that's natural. It's how we deal with that, and whether it's sustained or we can come out of it, that's important. So really think about how you take care of yourself. Some of the things that they're making us redo and rethink is like work, where many people are working remotely, lots of virtual meetings. Zoom bombing is now a thing, and our team is thinking about what happens if we are Zoom bombed by people who decide to take advantage of the situation. There's no sit-down meals. Essential workers are being defined. Whoever thought that the cashier would become an essential worker, and they are. And this is part of my Connect with Rev Up. I talk about equality. Think about it. Each one of us plays a role. And if we treat each other as if that role is just as important as any role, that's called equality. And now we recognize and support those cashiers. We're doing online purchasing now, and we're concerned about PPEs more than we've ever been. From a learning perspective, there's virtual summits, e-learning. We're constantly learning, and we're adapting to change, and we're helping each other adapt to that change. And I think the beauty of that is it allows us to be more forgiving of others, because we know what it feels like to learn something new. And isn't it amazing that probably after this is all over, how really adept all of us are going to be at technology that we shied away from, months ago or weeks ago. So speaking of technology, that is being leveraged. Even manufacturing facilities are refitting themselves to prepare PPEs, to make ventilators. Someone was criticizing Dyson for getting into the getting into the ventilator business. I was an ICU nurse, and I learned 6 different ventilators when I started. One of them was based on a vacuum cleaner. That's how it was made. So I think Dyson will make great vacuum cleaners and great ventilators coming up. We are reimagining our social interactions. We're buying groceries now where we're standing 6 feet apart to check out, and we're all accepting this as a new social norm. Virtual exercises, takeout and delivery has changed, and it's so serious now that the governments are thinking about fine and jail sentences. So I wanted to focus today on change leadership. When we were developing this seminar weeks ago, I said, by this point in the webinar series, we really need to help business owners and HR professionals and managers think about how they lead, because this is transformational change that's being thrusted upon people, even if they don't want it. So how do I help you be the leader you need to be? The definition of change leadership is the ability to influence and infuse others through personal advocacy, vision, and drive, and to access resources to build a solid platform for change. I'll read that again to you. What is change leadership? It's the ability to influence and infuse others through personal advocacy, vision, and drive, and to change and to access resources to build a solid platform of change. That's what you need to do as the leader. That's what you need to help others as we go through this very, very difficult time. So you must lead your business. You must lead your staff through this unprecedented time. Not managing, but actually leading. So what I want to do is share 4 C's of change leadership. There's a guy who is a former Navy SEAL, so he speaks like a SEAL tactician, and it was amazing. The references are there. I urge you and encourage you to read. He talks about VUCA environment. We are in a VUCA environment. It's volatile, it's uncertain, it's complex, and it's, oops, I can't read the last one because it's blocked by my thing, and ambiguous. In no time have we had so much going on. So COVID-19 fits this bill. And the 4 things he suggested that we should do is stay calm. And to show calm, even sometimes when you're not feeling it. But to do that, you need to stay healthily balanced so that you can stay in that place of calm when you need to be calm. Show confidence. When you make the final decision that you're making and you're sharing it with people that are influenced by you, show confidence in your decision. Will you get it right? Possibly not, but you need to accept that it's not going to be perfect. And in this COVID time, we are more flexible and adaptable and willing to be and allow people to not be perfect. So be confident in that. And if you need to change strategy, then change it and still be confident with the new strategy. Be consistent. Whatever you do, try to make your decisions based on a reflection of consistency. Make tweaks, but again, be confident enough and humble enough to make a change that you know is not the right one, because you're making the best decision you can on the information you have, and that information is constantly changing. So it is okay to be changing. And then be credible. I urge people to find the facts, decide based on facts, and then send a message related to that. With Gleason, he also shared 7 leadership fundamentals, and I'll just briefly go over them. Is 1, consider adjusting in near-term tactics and long-term. So, like I said before, you can adjust and evolve your business. One suggestion would be to make sure you involve everyone. Listen to your clients. What are those needs? And adjust to providing the needs that they have. And ask the staff, because sometimes they'll come up with ideas that as a whole, collectively, you can improve that. For those of you who've downsized, you may decide, who will I bring back to help me with that tactical decision? 2, build trust by demanding accountability. So make yourself accountable and make those in your team. Don't just say, oh, well, when you get around to it, do this. Give them a deadline and say, this is what we need to do. We need to think of a strategy to promote this new marketing. I want that information, say, within the next 2 days. So give it to me by Wednesday. So do make people accountable. Slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So don't underestimate the value of tactical pause. I had people in the first week deciding that they should lay off people. And I said, they wanted to do it on Friday. I said, don't do it on Friday. There's a big announcement coming on Monday from the governments. And I think you'd be wiser waiting till Monday, because there might be some support financially. And that's when the 10% wage subsidy happened. So that's a good example of know when to pause, and then also know when to think slowly and think fast. And sometimes you have to think slow and fast at the same time. Prepare for tomorrow today. That means when you're making your plans, think about tomorrow. Be innovative and creative and think and plan. I've talked to one person who's actually sat down and mapped out what she wants done, what the vision looks like at the end of COVID-19, and she wants to start building on executing that. Fall back to contingencies. Well, you can't necessarily fall back to contingencies when things are on the fly, but you can, though, by figuring out what that new objective is, what resources you have, what are some of those stumbling blocks, and then think about lessons learned that have helped you, and then create that contingency plan. 6, apply organizational resilience principles. And the principles are anticipate, prepare, respond, and adapt. These are the key to survival. Those people that can embrace those principles will be more successful in their survival. 7, debrief and apply the lessons learned. No time than ever, you need to figure out, so how did that work? What will we do to incorporate? We had a hiccup on Wednesday when the link to our presentation was not there through Eventbrite. So we had a debrief, we figured out what we would do. The Zoom bombing occurred around the same time. So again, we created a way to work through that. So again, debrief, take your lessons and continue to do that. Tips and strategies to survive and or flourish in COVID-19. In the article that Brian shares, he has 10 tips, and I wanted to share, sorry, this is a new person, Dan Sullivan. I wanted to share things that will help you focus. So forget about focusing on yourself, focus on others. Forget about sales and how am I going to make my revenues. Create value, because when you adopt all these 4 steps, it will be more effective and you will survive in the long run. Focus not about losses, but about opportunities. Those that are looking at creating value, focusing on others and opportunities, are starting to find new ways to provide services to their clients. Forget about the difficulties, look at the progress. It's baby steps, but we're all trying to do the same kinds of things, and we will succeed. Forget about who you were and focus on who you can be. Because I think when we start thinking about these 5 different things, we can move forward. So take this, apply it to what works in your business, and hopefully these are tips and strategies that will help you survive. There's some articles here. That article I mentioned about the Navy SEAL, I think it's an excellent article. If you need resources, the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, click on this one. It is done in a question answer almost format and segregated into EI, business applications. And so it's very, very useful to them. They'll continue to update it as they need it. Then there's other links for COVID economic response plan. This is the government website. And then there's other ones too. We do have an upcoming session on Rudner Law. Is joining me, Stuart Rudner, Know Your Legal Rights. And we're going to do some sharing of what happens legally when you make decisions with regards to your people. So join us for that. And then we have more topics coming up. I'm looking at bringing on a accountant to talk about how to apply and some of the tips and strategies on applying for some of these aspects that you're currently looking at with regards to the business. And we're going to start a new thing called on Friday, where we just have open forum. And we talk, and you guys can talk about anything you want. One of the things I wanted to share is that I realize that a lot of you are making some tough decisions, and we have such expertise on our team at People Bright. And I wanted to make that available to you. It's my HR on-call services, and I have this for people on a monthly basis. But during COVID-19, I'm offering a special because I really, really do want to help, and I want to help you deep dive. So I'm offering a 2-hour consultation for $300, which is half the price. It goes over a 6-week period. And I'm offering 4 weeks of consultation, and that's going to be $550. And again, over 6 weeks, we respond to your needs, and we do calculations of time in 15-minute increments. So it's just adding the time, but over that course of 6 weeks, you have 2 hours. I do want to also share that I will offer a free 30-minute strategy call with me, one-on-one, to talk about things. So this is our chance to talk about any questions that you have at this time, but I started this webinar to help people, and I realized that I can help people more by even offering more one-on-one tips and strategies. So if you want to take advantage of my HR on-call service, it's there for you. If you don't, it's information, and you can share it with anybody you care to. So I'm going to open it up for questions right now. Jenny, are there any questions from anybody at this point in time?
Not yet. So everyone, if you have any questions, you can feel free to type them out in the chat right now.
Okay. one of the things that I will be doing, and do think of questions, because this is an opportunity to ask about anything that you really want to talk about. This is how you can get a hold of me. As mentioned, we will be sending a copy of these slides to you, as well as a link to the YouTube where you can listen to the presentation. For those who registered but were unable to sign up for today's session, we actually will be sending a copy to everybody who has signed up. We do have a survey. We ask that you fill out the survey because we want to know what people want to know more about, what kind of topics we should have, as well as we are offering that one-on-one consultation, which some of you have taken me up on that. So any questions at all right now?
Yep, we have one from Scott. Can you call back a laid off team member to fill specific shift and then return to layoff?
I think that doing that is, the short answer is, I guess you could. The longer version is, if it's only for one shift, it's really not worth it. I think as a manager, business owner, you need to step back and try to do something that's a bit more continuous. So if you know you're going to need people to come back for 2 weeks, I would do that. But if it's only for one shift, I wouldn't. A lot of people who laid off people early realized that it was too soon. And with a 75% wage subsidy, they could probably bring back people. You don't have to bring back everybody, but my suggestion is bring back the people that make sense. Some people are building strategies, and I was suggesting that when you bring back people to help you with your team to move forward for the future, think of what you need. You need, if you need somebody who's good at marketing or good at writing or good at numbers to help you put through some number crunching for the application, then bring those people back. So maybe out of 10 people, you might say, I need 3 people, and I'm going to bring them back part-time. And maybe you do the number crunching. If that makes sense, that it's better for them to financially to do that, then it's a win-win situation, right? So again, I wouldn't bring them back for one shift. I would think about the longevity and figure out who you need to do it in clusters and bring back some people, but bring them back for a little bit longer period of time. Does that answer your question, or do you have further need to elaborate?
Scott, if you would like to comment on that, you can feel free to unmute yourself and speak.
Yeah, you can unmute yourself because this is good too.
If not, we will move on to another question.
I'm gonna share that screen now. Yeah.
Yeah, so another person asked, if you want to initiate change in your company, how can I do so without rocking the boat?
That's a good question. And I'm not sure what rocking the boat is, but this is the time where you're to lead, right? And leading means making tough decisions. I will assume it's not a unionized environment, okay? Because that has its whole set of variables that you have to follow. You need to do what's best for the company and best for the future. And it's always about messaging, so it's not about being fair now. It's about the survival of your company. So as a company, you need to figure out who is or are the best people to do the jobs that I need done. So you want to bring the best team members back, and seniority should not need to come into play. As the person explaining it, you would always create that message you want to send. You want to send a message of survival for this company. You want to care about your individuals. So if you're making decisions, you decide who needs to come back. Like I said, an example might be, if I'm creating a program and I need somebody who's got a creative mind, I'm going to think who in my organization kind of thinks outside the box, has great ideas that are practical, and I'll bring that person back, right? So if you've got a wish list, identify what are all the things that I need and who are the best people. I do something called Fascination Advantage. And it is really identifying some of the strengths that people have. You have your creative people, you have your people that are who can do the fine details. And if you need a project where you're going to roll out this and you need the steps and thinking about the steps, then the people who are those people who do fine detailed work are the best people for that particular job. If you need a job where excellence, a high caliber of excellence is required, then look at the people that always deliver quality, who look for continuous process improvements. In Fascinate, they're called Prestige, and they really do a good job of excellence. So bring back those people that are going to be thinking about quality, high standards, and continuous improvement. So bring back one of those types. So you may have a smattering of projects and think collectively on that, but make the tough decision. You're supposed to lead now with calm confidence, in a concise, in a calm and confident manner. Does that answer your question? Do you want to elaborate a little bit more on that? Because I didn't know what rocking the boat means. I know people will talk to each other. They'll phone, oh, so-and-so hired back so-and-so.
Yeah, I think the partisan said it was okay. Good.
Okay. One of the other things that I would do is when you've got people that are laid off, you should get their home emails and then send out progress reports every once in a while. Just, say, hi, just wanted to let you know that we're still going to be on now with the government sending all this information about closing to July 1st. These are some of the thoughts that I will have. I will be continuing our layoff, but I may bring back one or two people. And the reason for that will be to help move us to when we can reopen. So some of you have skill sets that will really help me in developing what we need to do. You don't have to elaborate what that means, but you just need to share with them. I'm bringing these people back because they're helping me with something as we open, and so that communication will help people realize, oh, I see. That's why she chose so and so, because she's good at developing whatever. Any other questions?
None so far.
Okay, so it is 11:33. Stuart will be coming on with me. Sorry?
Hilda,
yes.
Can I ask
Hi, Sherry.
question? Hi,
yes.
honey, sorry.
Hi, no worries.
Just kind of too much to ask in writing, but my dilemma right now is that we're not an essential service, and
yes.
there's a lot to do at the clinic and spa, but I'm afraid to bring back people, and like there's so many things to do because we were only open for 2 weeks before with the spa part, and I'm just nervous about bringing people back into the clinic to work when they're trying to tell us that I'll stay home. But a lot of the stuff that we do, we just can't do online. We're not an online business other than, taking emails and, maybe telling people how to order products online and stuff. So I'm feeling just a little bit conflicted, and I'm not quite sure how far I should push it.
I think if you open the door to some of your staff working, but you close the door, you follow the safety protocols in terms of the distancing, that maybe one or two would be okay. But again, the door is locked, that clients are not coming in, because you as a business owner can go back and forth. So I don't see why one other person would be a concern.
Yeah, like I would never have more than one person in there at a time. And then we disinfect as we leave, each of us. And I know everybody's been in quarantine, but it's just the message that the government's trying to tell us is, stay home, stay home, stay home. And then, you're like, well, I've got a business that I need to prepare for to come back and would like to be there. I just don't want to jeopardize. I don't want to be that person who at the end of it, something happens. And then you said, well, you were supposed to stay home. Just
has anybody got any information on that? Like, some people have, is everybody who, I won't single out somebody, but I know an engineering person is on and somebody from a company. Are you opening the door but in a minimum way with the right kind of protection and no clients coming through. Anybody want to comment on that? No. So I think we all have to kind of go and try to read what's happening. I think you'll see a lot more scrutiny now, people even being stopped as they're driving. And I guess the thing is that working remotely from home could be working remotely from the office for a few hours. I'm not sure. Someone saying the company work has limited staff at the office. Me and many others are, I'm not sure what that says.
Working
from home. Yeah. So I think again, in small numbers, but until we hear officially that the door closed is the door closed, it's not open for business, but the door can open for a few people to work quietly, meaning not undercover, but just, just doing a little bit.
Well, I think if we just look at it that, we're very responsible, and I will be very responsible. Yeah. I mean, who knows? I mean, this thing has changed so fast, and the decisions I've tried to send emails to staff that have taken a week to try and get out, because every day I wake up and it's a little different message. So anyways, yeah. Anyway, thank you. I appreciate it. Even talking about it helps me to make decisions. So thank you.
I know. I think the more you connect with other people, the more you get information which will help you with your business. And what I say is find the facts and try to stay focused on that. I was in on a session the other night when a participant said that the banks are insolvent and the end of the world is coming. And I thought, oh my God, and it's almost like it's too much to hear that, but it's not fact. I thought, where did he find it? Did I miss something? Did I read something? And then I think he's just, I don't know where he's getting his information from, but I got to kind of ignore that or validate some fact, because you have to find the facts and you have to do the best you can. But Sherry, the way you said it, you're going to do everything you can, right? And if they say, if you start to hear messages, if they see any doors open for anybody who is in a non-essential service, there will be fines. Then of course you have to stop. But keep your eyes out for that kind of information. It is 11:38. If anybody has any questions, fine. I'm cognizant of everybody's time. I appreciate that you've come on today. And if there are no more questions, I'll end the call. But if there is a question, please stay on. We will be on for a few more minutes as people start to go off. But thank you for joining us.